Peace. Now, some of the content I put on the channel, I'm just going to put on there for you to have your own thoughts about it, your own say about it.
One reason that the positive thinker gets positive results is he is not afraid of a problem. As a matter of fact, he finds problems exciting. He likes to take a tough, knotty problem and rip it apart and put it together again in the right manner. He doesn't run away from problems. He doesn't complain about problems. He likes problems. The average person thinks that life would be simply wonderful if we had fewer problems, or easier problems, or better still, no problems whatsoever. Now I should like to ask you, would you actually be better off if you had fewer problems, or easier problems, or no problems at all? Let me answer that question by telling you of an incident. I was walking down Fifth Avenue, New York City not so long ago when I saw approaching me a friend of mine from out of town by the name of George. It was evident from George's melancholy and disconsolate demeanor that he wasn't, you might say, filled to overflowing with the ecstasy and exuberance of human existence, which is a high-class way of saying that George was dragging bottom. He was really low. Well, this excited my natural sympathy, so I asked him, "How are you, George?" Now, when you get right down to it, that was nothing but a routine inquiry, but it represented an enormous mistake on my part. For George took me seriously, and for 15 minutes he enlightened me meticulously on how badly he felt. And the more he talked, the worse I felt. So finally I said, "Well, George, what seems to be the trouble? What's bothering you? I'd like to help you if I could." This really set him off. "Oh," he says, "it's these problems." Problems. Nothing but problems. I am fed up with problems. And he got so exercised about the matter that he quite forgot who he was talking to. And he began to castigate these problems vitriolically, using in the process thereof, I am sad to relate, a great many theological terms. Though he didn't put them together in a theological manner, that's for sure. But I knew what he meant all right. For he had what the super erudite call the power to communicate. I said, "George, you'd like to get rid of these problems, would you?" He said, "And how? I would like to be rid of every problem." Well, I always like to help people any way I can, so I meditated and ruminated and cogitated on the situation and came up with a solution which I personally thought wasn't half bad. At least it was the truth. I said, "George, the other day I was up in the northern part of New York City, in the Bronx, on professional business, if I may thus characterize it, and I was in an area up there where the head man told me that by actual count there were 150,000 people, and not a single one of them had a problem." The first enthusiasm I saw in George suffused his countenance and lighted up his eyes as he said to me, "Boy, that's for me. Lead me to this place." I said, "Okay, you asked for it. It's Woodlawn Cemetery in the Bronx." And this is a fact. Nobody in Woodlawn has a problem. For them, life's fitful fever is over. they rest from their labors. They couldn't care less what you and I will see on television tonight or read in tomorrow morning's newspaper. They have no problems at all, large or small, but they are dead. It therefore follows, I believe, in logical sequence, that problems constitute a sign of life. In fact, I would go so far as to say that the more problems you have, the more alive you are. The man who has, let's say, 10 good old tough man-sized problems is twice as alive as the poor, miserable, apathetic character who only has 5 problems. And if you here tonight have no problems at all, I warn you, you are in great jeopardy. You're on the way out and you don't know it. What you better do, the minute this meeting is over, don't fool around. Head for home. And go to your room and shut the door and get down on your knees by the bed and pray to the Lord and say to the Lord, Lord, please, what's the matter? Don't you trust me anymore? Give me some problem. Why, one sometimes wonders what's come over this great country. We are the descendants of a once great breed of men who had problems, and they had them aplenty. But did they whine and whimper and crawl through life on their hands and knees, piteously complaining because of their problems? Not on your life. They were philosophers. They were thinkers. And they understood the construction of the universe. And they knew that at the center of this world in which we live is this phenomenon known as a problem. And furthermore, they weren't afraid of problems. They stood up to them because they knew that every problem contains its own solution. The world is full of problems. For what reason? Why do we have so many problems? Why do you have so many problems? There's one answer to that. It is that you will grow strong so that you're more and more capable of handling problems. The only way you make a strong man is through resistance, struggle, pain, frustration, disappointment. This makes men. I'll go so far as to say that I don't believe any individual can really be mentally healthy who hasn't got a proper philosophy of a problem. Mental health is a very precarious thing. And you couldn't get this many people together without having somebody here for whom that's a problem. Maybe more of us than we'd care to admit. Now, if you want to know whether you're healthy mentally, tell you what you do. Take a piece of paper and write down on it your usual reactions when you have to face a tough problem. Do you ask, why me? Do you say, why isn't it the other fella? Do you say, why do I have all these troubles? Why do I have so many difficulties? Do you whine, you whimper, and you complain? If that's what appears on the sheet of paper when you give this honest self-analysis, then you might very well have the mental health checked. Now, down in my church in New York City, I've got 15 psychiatrists on the staff of the church. I don't want you to get any false notions as to my congregation by reason of this. You might ask, why in the world would you even have one psychiatrist on the staff? Well, the idea is we believe in dealing with people scientifically. How in the world are you going to get a man well if you don't know why he's sick? So for years, I've had these psychiatrists as consultants. Now, I don't know whether there's any psychiatrist in this meeting here tonight or not. But if there should be one here, he's not going to be hurt by anything I say. For I respect him highly as a scientist and even have affection for him as a colleague. But having made these felicitous remarks, I will admit to you in the intimacy of the little family circle here that having been closely associated with these psychiatrists for 25 long years, they sure are a queer crowd. But if any one of them had the floor in my stead, he might with equal authenticity make a not dissimilar comment on my profession, that's for sure. There, for example, is the problem of worry, which lots of people have. The seriousness of worry is indicated by the meaning of the word itself. The English word worry is derived from an old Anglo-Saxon word wyrgan, W-Y-R-G-A-N, which meant literally to strangle or to choke. If I were to come out in the audience and grab you around the neck and press as hard as I could, cutting off your air supply, I would be doing to you dramatically what you do to yourself if over a long period of time you're a victim of worry. You are strangling your creative powers. And then we have fear, which is worry in depth, and which is described by a brilliant New England psychiatrist as the most disintegrating enemy of human personality. We have anxiety problems. And another psychiatrist appraises anxiety as the great modern plague. Now, the positive thinker is an individual who's gotten himself healthy-minded. And he knows that he'll always be dealing with problems, so he undertakes to do them in a very efficient and effective manner. So that's it. The first element in the reason for a positive thinker getting positive results is his attitude toward a problem.
I really appreciate if you just leave some comments below and let me know your thoughts. Watch this.